everybody. This is Dr. Lori Shemek.
And I'm Omar Cumberbatch. You're listening to This Podcast Burns Fat. Hey, what's up, Lori? How are you?
Hi, Omar. Doing wonderful. Yes, a brand new week, and we have a wonderful guest on today. Her name is Kelly Gifford, and she's a body image and food freedom coach. And loved her. I loved her story, and I love her philosophy and her ability to help so many people. She's the owner of Kelevate, and where she actually helps others really navigate through food issues, because she actually had that issue as well. Mm-hmm. So really good.
Yeah, no, I was really impressed with her, especially, she's coming from a story where she was a personal trainer. She really did all the quote unquote right things and really came to a different perspective after years and years of doing things, again, quote unquote, the right way, and really trying to understand a different philosophy that's worked well for her and thousands of women who she's been helping. So, a very good guest. Yet another one.
Yes, yet another one. And what I loved about her was, there are so many people that really do the right thing and things don't change. And she goes into that, which is really interesting.
Yeah, that was definitely good, and gives a lot of hope for a lot of people who do struggle with doing things a certain way that they expect certain results. And if they're not getting it, there are other ways to go around it and establish themselves to doing and getting to the goals that they really want to get to.
Absolutely. Love that.
All right. So let's jump to the show.
Okay.
Hey, Kelly, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Hey, I am so good. How are you?
Hi, Kelly. Thanks for stopping by. Nice to have you.
Hello. I'm so grateful to be here and excited for this conversation. I think it's going to be really interesting to kind of see how our worlds collide here.
Absolutely.
That's great.
Yeah. So let's talk about your world first. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you became such an expert in your field.
Sure. Yeah. So I will go back as far as starting with my career as a personal trainer. Right out of high school, I was already so personally obsessed with fitness, and I wanted to make a career out of it. So I went to school, did some personal training certification, and jumped right into it. And that was like my life. My whole life revolved around fitness. I did competing in bodybuilding, and it was just like my dream come true to like be able to work in a gym and like live there every single day. And I had a very successful career as a personal trainer. I had a lot of clients. I mainly built my business as a personal trainer through referrals. And there was always something present in me throughout my career that kind of evolved over time, where there was something about the work that I was doing that felt slightly different than what was out there at the time. And my best way of describing it is kind of, if you guys are familiar with the time where like If It Fits Your Macros and flexible dieting became like giant and everyone was talking about it. So there was the time, right before that, where everyone was talking about clean eating and you have to eat just chicken and broccoli every day and you're supposed to do cardio and just burn a bunch of calories. And then being on the leading edge of that, when I started my career, I felt like my purpose in my life was like to teach women that they didn't have to be on a treadmill for an hour. They could like have fun and lift weights and get strong. And that they didn't have to eat just chicken and broccoli. They could like count their macros and be in a calorie deficit. And that was like mind blowing at the time. And over time, that changed when the world blew up with If It Fits Your Macros and everybody knew about it. Everyone and their mom and their dog was counting their macros. There was something that became present in me where I started to realize, okay, that doesn't feel like the end. There feels like there's something still missing here, because I was noticing that there were a lot of clients who I would, teach them all of these things, teach them about how to track their food and how many calories their body needed, and give them a workout plan and hold them accountable and give them everything that they needed to be successful. But a lot of people were still falling off and weren't successful in the end. And so then I started to discover some of the connections between our relationship with food and our emotions and how it is that we cope with food and everything like that, and started to dive a little bit deeper into the psychological aspect of people's journey in this way, and started to do a lot of work with my clients on helping them understand their patterns with food and why it is that they haven't been able to be successful up until this point, and doing some deeper work around their mindset, their coping patterns, and really helping them create a stronger foundation so that the changes that we were making were more sustainable. And that felt like that was the leading edge for me at the time. And that was what my passion was just teaching people about this whole other side to their fitness and wellness journey that wasn't being so talked about at the time. And that was kind of like, mindset. And then since then, my business has changed so much. My focus has changed so much, mostly just as a byproduct of me changing personally as a human being. And I had to have a very honest conversation with myself about 2 summers ago, where I recognized that a lot of the things that I was doing and that I was preaching about, fitness and weight loss and nutrition and all of that, was still kind of keeping my own disordered eating and poor relationship with myself alive. And my career as a personal trainer and a nutritionist was actually kind of my way of masking and justifying keeping myself in a very unhealthy place mentally and emotionally, where I was so terrified of gaining weight, to the point where my entire life was orchestrated and constructed around making sure that I could always control my food, that I never missed a workout, that if I did, I would always make up for it. My brain was just constantly looking for things that could go wrong, and just being so immersed in this world of isolation and control that it was completely draining me of my ability to be present in my life. And since that day, since that very big breakthrough that I had, where I realized that a lot of the things that I was doing was actually not healthy for me, I had to make a lot of personal changes to the way that I was approaching my nutrition, my exercise. And what that looked like for me was actually completely abandoning all food rules, everything that I had learned to try to control and manipulate the size of my body, and start doing exercise in a way that was just purely to make me feel good. And for the most part, that became very gentle movement, doing a lot of yoga, going for walks, doing some strength training here and there. Um, but basically, actively rejecting anything that I had learned to do solely just to try to control my body, so that I could just get over this fear that was weighing down my life for so long, of losing control of my body, of having my body gain weight, of not being the super fit and super lean and super admirable person that I had kind of constructed this persona around for so long, which, through doing a lot of deep work and reflection, realized that that was actually kind of my way of shoving down and pushing away all of the insecurities, all of the unresolved situations from my past, from childhood, where I felt so deeply hurt over, being bullied and being rejected, and everything that I had kind of made had something to do with my body. So there was so many like deep body image issues that had kind of led me into fitness and exercise in the first place, that I kind of had to do a whole 180 in order to really release the hold that those fears were having over my life. And my business has had to completely change and evolve ever since making that decision.
That's fantastic. Well, that's good. Wonderful that you were able to really journey through that and find the best spot for you. I'm sure there are a lot of people that can resonate with what you're saying. What would you say would be the first step? Would it be awareness, or would it be mindfulness on that journey?
I love that question. I think that awareness for sure has to be the first step. And I think that it's it takes a lot of time to get to that place. And I'll share from my own personal experience that there was a level of awareness that I held for a long time, but I wasn't aware that I was aware. I was aware.
I know there really, I forgot what it's called, but yeah, you're aware, but you're not. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I think I just didn't want to be aware of what it is that I was aware of because I was so afraid of what I was going to have to do if I was honest with myself. And I think a lot of people might be in this same position if they've spent a lifetime learning that the only way that they can feel good about themselves and have confidence and to be accepted and to be attractive and to be loved is to look a certain way. Then if they have anything within them that's conflicting with that, where it's like, maybe this isn't healthy for me, maybe this has become too obsessive for me, or maybe this is not healthy for me in some way, then it's like I don't want to acknowledge that could be true because I'm so terrified of what's going to happen if I do start to do the work to heal these things that I'm seeing as problematic, and my body does change, and then maybe I won't be attractive, and then maybe I won't be loved, and then maybe my relationships are going to change. And there's all of these fears that kind of come with that awareness that we typically will just like pretend that it's not there, and it's just like this monster hiding in the corner. At least it was for me for many years.
So one of the things, I mean, you definitely come from a different perspective because you've always, I should say always, it was an assumption, but just in your description, you were in shape. You were someone who was doing the right thing, quote unquote. I know that's not what you preach as far as like a right or wrong and stuff like that. But what about the person who definitely has, a weight issue? How do you address someone who wants to take the steps to actually lose weight for a variety of reasons, be it health or appearance?
Yeah. And I love this intersect because it kind of leads the question, like, can you work on your body image and have a healthy body image while simultaneously trying to change your body? And I think when we look at the body image world and the body positivity or body neutrality world, intuitive eating, all those kind of worlds that collide, it looks like it's very counterproductive to fat loss and weight loss and all those things, or that those two worlds can't really coexist at the same time. And it makes sense to me why there are some conflicts within the two that maybe can't coincide together, but I think there are some pathways in which it does. It just requires a lot of intention and self-awareness around it. And I would say the primary thing that I like to point people towards is that most people, when they go to try to lose weight and get fit or get healthier, they go about it in this very outside in approach, which is basically, they want to lose weight because they have some kind of deeper desire. They want to feel better. They want to feel more confident. They want to love themselves. They want to feel healthier. They want to be more energized. They have these deeper whys connected to losing weight. And they're just expecting that once they lose the weight, the way that they feel on the inside is going to change. And that's typically how we approach most things in life. That's how we're conditioned into approaching any goal. We try to build a business so that we can make money and feel more secure and feel more confident in ourselves. It's always that outside focus there, change the outside so that I can feel differently on the inside. But where that can go wrong, specifically when it comes to body type of goals, is that when we say we want to feel more confident or we want to feel more free to wear what we want to wear and be more happy and feel more connected in our lives and have better relationships, all of these deeper reasons, but then the very things that we are doing to try to lose the weight are actually directly blocking us from having our deeper desire. So we might, beat ourselves up every time that we eat a cookie. So then we're not feeling good about ourselves. We're feeling quite insecure, or we're feeling guilty. Or we might restrict ourselves so much or say that we can't do the things that we want to do because we got to work out. And now we're not even feeling free. And then we might isolate ourselves because we need to go to the gym or because we can't go to this work event because there's going to be food there that you can't eat. And now you're feeling isolated. And now all of the things that you were hoping that weight loss is going to give you, you're directly blocking yourself from having in the process. And that's not going to last very long. You're only going to be able to white knuckle yourself through that for so long until the scale doesn't go down for a couple of weeks in a row and you're like, F it, this isn't worth it. And you go immediately to the things that are going to give you that immediate comfort, or you're going to let go of the things that you can sense are actually getting in the way of you having what you want, or creating the very things that you didn't want, like that restriction or that self-criticism or that guilt, or the feelings of feeling bad about yourself. And so I think that it really has to be acknowledged up front that there is a deeper desire to losing weight, and that has to become more important than the outer goal of losing weight. And what I like to do with my clients is talk about this inside out approach to transformation, where we really look at what are the things that we are actively involving ourselves in that are getting in the way of us feeling the way that we want to feel right now as we are. Like, what are the beliefs that we hold about ourselves that are making it impossible for us to feel good and feel confident about ourselves? Let's look at that. What are the activities that we are doing that are directly getting in the way of us feeling confident, of feeling free? Or what could we involve ourselves in the process of trying to lose weight that could directly block us from having that? Let's ensure that we are actively moving from a place of you feeling the way that you want to feel now, before you've even lost the weight, and then see how much easier it is for you to lose weight, because you're already feeling good. You're feeling more energized. You're not going to be coping with your emotions by emotionally eating as much, because you're actively giving yourself what it is that you need, and you're feeling more fueled from the inside. You're going to last a lot longer. And it's a completely different way to go about goals. But when you do it that way, it's self-fulfilling and it nourishes you from the inside, where you don't need to use self-discipline and grit and motivation to get you there anymore.
So are you saying that it is about balance then? That somebody needs to create, because food is food, right? And there are foods that are really not healthy. So if we with abandon, we could get ourselves into some inflammatory trouble, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I think that balance is a beautiful word that we're all trying to navigate and figure out what the heck that means, especially in this space, right?
Right.
I think that everyone needs to do an assessment for themselves of what it is that is going to be healthy for them, and what balance is going to look like for them. Because there's, typically when we look at balance, we look at it from a very external point of view. Like, balance means that I am only, eating these types of foods 20% of the time, and that I eat, broccoli every day, or whatever. We all have different definitions of it, but it's very external based. And something that I really love to work with my clients on is creating more internal boundaries when it comes to their decision-making process around food. So rather than all of your decisions with food coming from this place of, is it good? Is it bad? Does it check this box? Is it over or under this many calories? Does it have this much protein? All of those external boundaries, which are fine and they serve their time and place, but also looking at, like, how is eating this meal going to make me feel? Is this coming from a very empowered place? And is this going to be healthy for me right now? And I like to describe the difference between external and internal boundaries using the example of, you go out to a restaurant, let's say, and you're deciding between two things. You're deciding between ordering the burger, or you're deciding between ordering the salad. And when we're looking at purely just external boundaries when it comes to nutrition, we would see the salad as the better and the healthier choice. But if by ordering the salad, you're going to be resentful the entire time that you're there because everyone else around you is eating food that they actually want, and you hate salad, and you're not going to be present with the people that you're with, and all the entire time you're just going to be thinking about how you wish that you could be just as skinny as them and be able to eat whatever you want, and then you're just munching on your lettuce and you're hating your life, and then afterwards you're feeling so dissatisfied because you didn't eat what you wanted, and then you're going to be thinking about food for the rest of the day, and maybe even leading to some kind of emotionally eating disaster later. Then I would argue that's not the healthier choice. But we could also say the same thing for the burger. With the burger, if you're going to be ordering it because if you don't order it, or if you were to order the salad instead, then people might judge you and they're going to make comments about it, about how you're so healthy and you need to let loose and whatever. And you're doing it because of some social pressure that's also coming from a very disempowered place. And so I really like to help my clients create a relationship with food where they can make decisions from this place of empowerment, regardless of what the meal actually is. And a lot of the time, the meal is going to be healthy. But rather than it trying to be this thing where you're figuring out, is it worth it? Is this healthy? Is this balanced? Is this whatever? Coming to a place internally where you can create this guidance system within you that says, this is the decision that's going to serve me right now in this moment. This is what's going to make me happy. It's going to make me present. I'm going to feel satisfied from it. And I'm going to be able to move on with the rest of my day without thinking about this food for the rest of my day as well.
So, Kelly, one of the things you did awesome describing just a typical situation that I think everybody goes through when they're going out and they're dealing with a lot of situations. When clients come to you, though, because of the diet culture that just exists and they like kind of demand some kind of structure from you, typical of a meal plan or some kind of rule that they're like almost begging you for. Like, how do you go about designing something for them? Or do you really just cut that off at the head and say, that's not how you operate, and then you take it in another direction?
I love this question because I would have answered this so differently like 3 months ago, 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago. I think my answer keeps changing and evolving. But right now in this very moment, the immediate answer to me is that if someone were to come to me kind of demanding that from me and kind of the way that you've described it, it felt very like they feel like they need that sense of control. I would want to just get curious with them a little bit in that moment and just understand what's happening on a deeper level for them. Because if they're coming with this, like, I need this right now, that's coming from a place where they're not feeling in control. They're feeling some sense of uncertainty, of insecurity, of not feeling safe within their life, within their body. And that's usually being triggered by something that happened to them, whether they had a really bad body image day or a really bad body image week, or they overheard some kind of conversation, or they were comparing themselves to someone at work or on social media, or comparing their results to somebody else that's also going through some kind of journey, and they're thinking that their journey is supposed to look like theirs, and because they haven't lost as much weight or as quickly as them, then they're doing something wrong. And so they need to find something that feels safe, and some kind of plan is going to give them that sense of security and certainty that will make them feel safe. But I want to first understand what happened to make them feel so unsafe within themselves that they need something outside of them in order to feel safe again. And usually that conversation will evolve into what the next steps are really going to be. Because if it's just that they had, a big like thing happen that made them feel like they're not seeing results fast enough because they were comparing themselves to someone else, then that becomes a conversation of, is that really what you want? Do you really want to see results faster? Do you need to see results faster? Is it worth having to have a meal plan that you follow forever, or having to give you all of these different restrictions that we're going to have to work on letting go later? Is it really worth it to give yourself this external sense of security and certainty that you either have to maintain for the rest of your life or later have to learn how to let go of it and feel safe within that? Or would it be better for us to just have a conversation around like the path that we are currently on without the meal plan or without this external means of certainty, and just weighing up the options from that point so that they have an opportunity to feel really seen and really heard in the struggle that they're facing that has led them to a point where they really feel like they need something else. They need more structure. They need more control. But not only am I getting them to understand it for me, but I'm also helping them understand for themselves what's going on, because all they're really seeing is like that everything turns red and it's like, I need a meal plan right now. Everything's not okay. I'm not seeing results fast enough. I need structure. I'm not being held accountable enough. I need more structure. That's usually how it is. And so we don't want to take action from this really triggered place, from this emotional, worked up place, because then that's just going to set the tone for the journey forward if we take action on that place. We want to make decisions from a very clear-headed, mindful, safe place within ourselves. And if there's a lot of really heavy emotions that are driving or swaying someone to make a certain decision, I want to bring them back to an emotionally safe place within themselves first, through conversation, through getting them to feel heard and feel seen, so that we can come up with a plan that's actually going to meet them where they are and actually serve them, not just help them avoid the uncertainty and the insecurity that they're feeling in that moment.
How do you then stop the inner criticism that occurs?
Oh my goodness. Inner criticism is an interesting thing. I think that I want to start by saying that the inner critic, that's what I call it, we develop that for a reason. So people that have a very, very, very wild inner critic, like they're very hypercritical of themselves, they're constantly tearing themselves apart in the mirror, always looking for their flaws on their body. That was something that they learned to do. And they learned to do it for a reason. And in my own personal discoveries of this, and also through working with clients, I've learned that for the most part, we learn to be really hypercritical of ourselves as a protection, because we want to try to find the things on ourselves that other people could judge or reject us for, so that we can get ahead of them and try to fix them, so that we won't get judged and rejected for it. And also then, at least if someone else does judge us or reject us for something that we are hypercritical of ourselves for, then at least we found it first, right?
We're more prepared emotionally.
We're more prepared for it. Exactly. And so when I'm working with someone that has a very worked up inner critic, I like to help them form a relationship with the inner critic, with that part of them, because they can start to understand that this part of them is just trying to protect them. It's really innocent. This inner critic, this part of ourselves that beats ourselves up, is just doing that as a way to try to make us feel safe from being judged, from insecurity. And the irony of it is that the very act of beating ourselves up is what's making us feel so insecure, right? But it was designed to try to make us not get insecure through other people judging us. And so when we can see the irony and the innocence of this part of us that is beating ourselves up, we're trying to do it because we don't want other people to judge us so that we won't feel insecure. But by doing it, we're feeling insecure. Then it almost just becomes silly. It's like, oh, that every time that you notice yourself falling into a pattern of inner criticism, you're kind of just like, oh, wow, okay, here it is again. I am beating myself up. I'm doing this because I think that this is helpful. I'm beating myself up and being so hypercritical of myself because I learned that this was the best way to find the things that are wrong with me, so that I can try to fix them so that I won't be hurt. And maybe, just maybe, that's actually not helpful, and it's not even working all that well. And I think that it's really important to understand that these patterns aren't just going to go away. So I always love to ask the question with people: if you just knew that for the rest of your life, you were always going to be super hypercritical of yourself, and that was never, ever, ever going to go away, but that was just always going to be a part of your human experience, how would you want to be with yourself when the inner critic comes up? So with that question, it's really just asking someone to look at their relationship with inner criticism, because normally when they're being really hypercritical of themselves, what do? They believe it. They actually think that there's something wrong with them. They believe what the inner critic is telling them. They try to do something about it. They feel really bad about themselves, etc. They like almost identify with the part of them that's being really hypercritical. So with the question, if you knew that this was never going to go away and this was always going to be a part of your human experience, how would you want to be with yourself when it comes up? The answer to that question might be, well, maybe I would want to be a little bit more mindful of it, or I would want to bring myself some compassion in the moments where I'm falling into inner criticism, or I would want to acknowledge that this is just something that I learned to try to protect me. Whether or not it's effective is irrelevant here, but maybe I just bring compassion and understanding to myself for being hypercritical of myself. Maybe I even thank this part of me for trying to protect me. Maybe I take a couple of deep breaths and then I move on with my day. And it's really just asking someone to come to a place where they don't need the inner critic to go away in order for them to stop experiencing the negative repercussions of having a very strong inner critic. But instead, they put their energy and their focus on changing their relationship with this part of them that is so hypercritical. And that will change their life.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's interesting. It sounds like how I deal with my OCDs and stuff like that. Kind of shut that message up. So
exactly.
Yeah, it's an interesting way to look at it, and it's definitely helpful. So one of the things that I really wanted to ask you, and I'm just curious because of just I'm always interested in people who have this perspective and really about the mindset, which is something that I definitely have my own struggles with. Is there anything good about diet culture in your opinion?
Anything good about diet culture? Immediately my mind goes no, because when I think about diet culture, I just think about all of the toxicity and the lies and the negativity that we are fed about ourselves and about our body, and really demonizing food and all of those things that I think create a very unhealthy dynamic within somebody. But I think that there can be positives to anybody going down some kind of weight loss or fat loss or health journey, even if it isn't coming from a very self-loving and empowering place, because it is going to teach you a lot to go down a path like that. And even if you do it in a very restrictive way, or even if you do it from this place of feeling horribly about yourself and just wanting your body to change so you can feel better, that doesn't mean that you're just doomed to like losing a bunch of weight and then eventually realizing I'm still unhappy and nothing has changed. I still hate myself, even though I've lost 40 pounds. Some people end up getting there, and then they're going to learn, okay, there's more to this, I guess. And maybe that opens them up to a whole new journey. Like, now that I've lost the weight and I realize I don't feel any better about myself, what else can I do? What else can I do to try to shift how I feel about myself, or to get the support that I really need to heal what it is that I was hoping was just going to change as a natural byproduct of me losing weight. So I think that no matter where anyone is on their journey, it's not wrong. I think that my journey obviously worked out pretty well for me, in that I end up finding my passion and being able to do the work that I absolutely love, and teaching women how to heal their relationship with themselves and heal their relationship with their bodies, and to have an empowering relationship with food and exercise. And that's my life's work. And I wouldn't have been here if I didn't, get so indoctrinated by diet culture. So I think that there are positives to anybody's journey, regardless if they just purely focus on weight loss and fitness right from the get-go, or if they get so indoctrinated by diet culture that they're just eating chicken and broccoli, even though it's 2023 now and everyone kind of knows that that's not what you're supposed to do, but they still do.
Yeah, now you'd be surprised.
Yeah, right. Those people out there, they still exist. Actually, funnily enough, as we're talking about where I'm from, the place that I'm from here in Canada is kind of behind the times, I would say, because we're so isolated. And most people here still kind of think like that, which is really funny to me since I've moved here. Like, people still think you're supposed to just like be on, like, jog on the treadmill for an hour and then like cut out carbs and only eat broccoli and chicken for every meal if you want to lose weight.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we still have guests, right, Lori, who just come up with some crazy, I shouldn't say crazy stuff, but things that we think are a tad bit outdated. And it's like, yeah,
right.
Look at what's going on. Read more about it. Well, listen, Kelly, you've been fantastic. I really appreciate, you driving this mindset thing home and really breaking this down. So can you tell the audience how to get in touch with you, your social media handles, your website, and anything that your podcast, which is fantastic as well? Can you just share that with the audience, and we could just keep up with what you're doing?
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you for this opportunity. For anyone that wants to connect with me further, you can find me on everything. I'm going to say it out loud first and then I'll spell it. So it's the word elevate, but with a K at the beginning. So Kelevate. That is my handle on everything. So if you want to find me on Instagram, it is Kelevate_. My website is celevatecoaching.com. And I also have my own podcast, which is mostly just for my own personal stuff, talking about my own relationship with exercise and food and healing my poor body image and all the things that I have learned since really going deep down the rabbit hole into my healing. And it's called the Kelevate podcast.
Fantastic. Excellent. You were wonderful. So thank you so much for stopping by and enlightening us a little bit more.
Of course.
So appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much.
All right, Kelly, have a great rest of the day.
Take care.
Thank you. You too.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of This Podcast Burns Fat. We're so excited to have you as a listener, and we're hoping that you really enjoyed the content as well. And if you did, please run over to iTunes and provide a rating and or review. It will go a long way in helping us continuously build our listenership up so that we can provide you with excellent content regarding fat loss, weight management, and just an overall healthy lifestyle. Thanks so much. Have a great night.